The other day I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw my cousin's Instagram story. She was in Tokyo going to Disney Sea. It looked a lot of fun, except for the fact that it was kind of pouring rain, which is not too bad, especially if you're used to coming from a country that like rains often. But watching her Instagram story just reminded me of like summer in Japan and how brutal it can get. June is okay, but once you start hitting July and August, it's kind of the humidity is what kills you. You get really sweaty and sticky, and I've actually seen people sit on the side of the road from heat exhaustion, or literally there was this one girl who fainted in front of me due to heat exhaustion. There's kind of different symptoms for things, and so I don't want that to happen for you. I want to make sure your trip to Japan is exciting and fun as it should be. Japan is a really great place where there's always something to do all 4 seasons. It's just a matter of maybe preparing for the temperature and what to expect. So today's video, I wanted to share you what to expect, tips on maybe what you can bring or what you can expect you could buy over there, and then lastly just what activities you could be doing. Some of them are very seasonal and some of them are more indoors. First off, pretty much what to expect is that Japanese summers are hot and humid with temperatures ranging from approximately 70 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. This is about 21 to 32 degrees Celsius. Obviously, it also depends on where you are in the country. The thing with Japan is that it's very, I think, longitudinal. So when you go from the north to the south, they are pretty like different temperate. But let's say, for example, mostly for Tokyo and Osaka area, the temperature will range generally that July, you'll start to feel the humidity and it'll get really hot. And then by the time it hits middle of August, it is the peak hottest time. It is brutal. If you want to do outdoor activities, try to do them in the morning or in the evening or at night. And then in the middle of the day, either just rest, maybe go back to your hotel, take a nap. But if you want to get everything done, plan your indoor activities to be around that time. So some tips to prepare. Things that you can bring from home are sunglasses, hats, and also remember to bring some deodorant packed in your luggage because the deodorants in Japan aren't that strong. You want to get some waterproof shoes or sandals because it's definitely going to rain often and you don't want to do it with wet shoes. I like to walk around in sandals, but some people waterproof shoes. And in the case that your shoes do get wet, there are coin laundry stores. They have these like machines to dry your shoes. I don't actually know how good they are. I hear mixed reviews that they don't fully dry your shoes, but it's better than nothing. I'll make sure to have a link to the checklist in the description below. Next up, there are some products you can get. You definitely want to get an umbrella. It'll be good to protect you from the rain, but also has a nice shade from the sun, especially if you're walking out a lot. It really does feel a lot cooler. I know in like Western countries, you don't normally have an umbrella outside when it's just the sun itself. When I started to do it more in Japan, it was actually really nice. It just feels like you're under the shade of a tree. You know how cooling and relaxing it is to be under the shade of a tree. Now just translate that to holding an umbrella and carrying the tree with you. Makes sense, right? So yeah, it definitely helps a lot. So at the convenience store, you can get electrolyte drinks. I really recommend this one called Pocari Sweat. The other things you can buy at the konbini or any drugstore is like the Biore or Gatsby products. They are cooling towels. They're very minty, menthol-like cooling towels. Some people like it, some people don't. I know I didn't quite like the Gatsby ones because it kind of stings, but it's also very refreshing. So it's a hit or miss whether you like it or not. There's also these kind of mist sprays to keep you cool, battery powered fans you can get. And then there's these things I never really saw before when I was growing up in LA, which is these cooling towels that you can just wrap around your neck. I think you just apply water and it's like the same thing as any towel, but I guess it feels more cool with these towels. And I saw a lot of my coworkers wearing it during the summers. So follow the Japanese, follow the locals. They definitely know what they're doing. And then in Japan, they have really good sunscreen products. I know in the US, there's a lot of restrictions and regulations that come with sunscreen, so we don't really have the best products. They're very thick. The texture isn't pleasant, but a lot of these sunscreen products in Asia, like South Korea or in Japan, they're very nice, very thin, very lightweight. I actually enjoy buying a lot of my sunscreen products there. You'll find them at convenience stores and drugstores. You'll also need insect repellent. There's a lot of mosquitoes in that time of the year, so I recommend these products of insect repellent here. As for dates of when to come to Japan in the summer in particular, I recommend at least avoiding Obon Week. Obon's dates kind of change year to year, so I recommend you looking that up, but generally it's somewhere in mid-August. During that time, a lot of Japanese locals will be traveling mostly to their hometown, so transportation prices may increase, or there's more traveling happening around with tourists plus locals, in addition to like hotels and accommodation prices being higher. Just the fact that there's so much mass movement of locals and tourists just makes the experience a bit more crowded, and I imagine a lot of tourist places to also be more crowded. So if you can avoid visiting Japan during their national holidays, that would be best. Now that we've got preparation out of the way, now it's time for the fun part, which is all of the activities you can do during the summer. First off, very season specific activities include the Japanese summer festivals. There's like one happening every week. You can Google it, look it up for whenever you're going to Japan. Number 2 is obviously the beach. You can do snorkeling, scuba diving, surfing, and you can even also go river rafting if you want to look into that. And another popular outdoor activity that's a lot of people want to check off in their bucket list is to climb Mount Fuji. So the time you're allowed to climb Mount Fuji is actually in the summer months. And then for people who are less into outdoorsy things, you can also go to music festivals. Last year, I went with my friends to Summer Sonic. I was able to see Megan Thee Stallion, One OK Rock, Chanmina, a lot of my favorite artists. So they definitely have those happening in the summer months. Other things to do is the firework displays. I really recommend if you can catch a fireworks show at one of the nearby parks or designated places. They are so beautiful. Just Google like which ones are the best. Last year in late August, I went to one in Osaka. I think it was called the Yamagawa Fireworks Show, and I think it lasted for like an hour. I highly recommend you go to the park like 1 or 2 hours ahead of time, chill with your friends, find a picnic spot, because Japanese love to go to places early, wait in line, and all that stuff, and bring like a picnic blanket, and it is such a beautiful experience. I'm pretty sure that's like one of the best fireworks shows I've ever seen. Second being Disneyland fireworks. Other beautiful things to see are Japan's beautiful array of flora, which you can probably find at any park in general. But I also really like going to the nearby shrines and seeing things like the hydrangea blooming in June, and just with the backdrop of the shrines, it's just so mystical, very lovely. All of those are outdoors. But what do we do in the middle of the day when it's freakishly hot, or maybe it's just raining outside? In that case, here's a list of some activity ideas that you can pretty much do all year round. You can go to a bunch of museums. There's so many of them. I mean, there's also the Studio Ghibli Museum that's pretty popular. That one requires a reservation, so please look that up. There's also the aquariums. They usually don't need a reservation. There's the arcade. Okay, that one doesn't need a reservation. Arcade, the Round One Company. You have crane games, dance game, rhythm games, indoor sports, team labs for people who are interested in getting that beautiful Instagram photos, and then themed cafes. It could be like animal themed cafes. So for example, I went to a micro pig cafe. I've also brought my other friends to like a micro pig cafe when they came to visit, so it's really nice and cute. Those ones you have to make reservation. And then other activities are spa day. If you want to get a spa day or cosmetic things done, then I recommend checking out the website called Hot Pepper. That's what a lot of the Japanese locals use to book good deals with a lot of these salons, where they provide first customer discounts. Just be forewarned, the whole thing is in Japanese though, the whole website. You can get things like your nails done, or, you know, facial or body massages, any of the cosmetic stuff. And lastly, we cannot forget the seasonal foods to eat. Oftentimes there's a lot of very refreshing meals to have in Japan. So if you're feeling really hot, there is zaru soba, which is like slurping soba noodles. You kind of get the soba noodles cold, and then you dip it into a broth and then eat it, and then afterwards you can drink some of the broth. There is chilled somen, so it's just another chilled noodles. There's also chilled udon noodles, and there's also a dining experience called nagashi somen, which is kind of flowing water somen noodles. And what you do is like you kind of grab the noodles as it's sliding down a water tube, and then dip it in your broth and then eat it. It's a really fun summer experience that I highly recommend if you get the chance to do it. And then of course, you always have sushi, sashimi. You have desserts, ice cream, parfaits, shaved ice, and that's it. If you found today's video helpful, please give it a like. If you have any questions, or if you just recently came from your trip and you have some cool ideas of what you did recently, then please comment below. It would be really nice if everyone can just share some activities of what they did, or some ideas that maybe I didn't list here, and we kind of get this conversation going in the comments section. Other than that, if you want to see more videos from me, please click subscribe, and see you in the next video. Bye! Yeah.